I have a friend called John. He's a nice bloke. He's a vicar in the Anglican church, as it happens. I've known John since we were at school together. Good lad. John's one of these people who is always up for a discussion, not a fight, but a debate. He is interested in truth, and he's a man of real integrity, which is why I don't mind discussing this stuff with him, because he's not one of those Christians who's just out to score points or insult the atheist. But he did take me on about my recent video in which I make the point that any Christian who says that humans are evil unless they have a religious belief, unless they believe in a God, are actually talking about themselves, because you cannot label an entire group to which you yourself belong without meaning yourself as well. So what they are actually revealing is that without the fear of damnation, they would be raping, murdering, killing, stealing, doing all the things that they regularly accuse atheists of. John didn't necessarily disagree with that, because it is obvious. If you blame an entire group, you blame yourself. I would argue actually that they're only really talking about themselves, because that's the only person they actually know. But that's not what this video is about. You see, we moved on a bit and we started talking about morality and where it comes from. And I said to John, look, this is really another discussion. Let me make another video and we can talk about that. So the Facebook page might be quite interesting tonight, because this is that video. So, John's view, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, John, but your view is that humans can create some sort of morality, but it's not really the proper morality, because that comes from the mind of God. And whilst I would call that arbitrary, in the same way that people complain that atheist morality is arbitrary, you seem to be arguing that, well, it is insofar as it's what God chooses, but it's perfect and therefore it's okay, and not arbitrary in the same sort of sense. Forgive me, I didn't quite see how that worked. I have read your comments several times, and I still don't quite get the difference. It just seems to me that you have abdicated responsibility for morality to some other being that I don't even think exists. You, I'm sure, would argue does exist, but nonetheless, you just seem to have abdicated responsibility there. Please correct me with that if I've misunderstood you. I suspect I have. My view is that there is a natural world that has natural parameters that we all understand. And for this I'm borrowing from people like Sam Harris, Matt Dillahunty and a few others. Given that there are limits to what we can and cannot achieve, and given that there are sources of very real harm and sources of very real pleasure and contentment and well-being, if we make an arbitrary choice to base our morality on the avoidance of harm and the pursuit of well-being, then we can start from that perspective and then make objective strategy decisions about how to achieve it. Now that's no more or less arbitrary than a God making a choice, except that if God makes the choice, we can't update it, because it's God. And God made some choices, some 2,500 years ago it began, I think. I know that some fundamentalists will tell you that the Old Testament started to be written about 3,500 years ago, but actually the evidence isn't there for that. The Old Testament really seems to have begun being written about 500 before the Common Era, which is why, for example, in accounts of the life of Moses, There are references to towns and places that didn't exist until several centuries after his apparent death. So this is one of the ways that we know that actually the Bible is not as old as it appears to be. But leave that aside. The Bible contains moral guidance for a bygone age where it's okay to do genocide, where slavery is fine, where women are chattels, where rape is okay. Even rape as a weapon of war is okay. The Bible even tells you how to treat your slaves, how much to pay for them, how to ensure that you keep them forever, and from whom to buy them. That's not modern morality. But we can't update that because we've given it to God. Except, fortunately, we haven't. Because actually I don't know a single modern state that operates according to Christian moral teachings, and I'm very grateful for that. There are a few Abrahamic states, a couple of Muslim states where people still get stoned to death for being gay, for example, but that's a morality that fortunately certainly modern Western societies have just rejected, on the grounds that it's a rubbish morality. So I say that morality comes from a constantly updated awareness of well-being and how to achieve well-being. John appears to think that true morality, or the better morality, I don't remember how you phrased it, John, forgive me, but you seem to think that the better or the perfect or the actual morality comes from a God who hasn't bothered to update his book since women were being raped or slaughtered along with their husbands, children, and even their livestock. I know which morality I prefer.